Hey everyone, I'm Thais Sky. Welcome to Reclaim, a podcast for women by women on conversations that matter. Hello everybody. Welcome to Reclaim, the podcast. I am your host, Thais Sky. Reclaim is a podcast where we bring to you weekly conversations that matter. And this week I bring to you a slightly shorter episode. You may be wondering why. Well, it's because I have decided to not share an interview with you all today. Instead, I want to share with you top 5 moments of 2018 because this episode will be the final episode of 2018. Reclaim is going on a mini month-long hiatus. I will be back the first week of January with amazing interviews as per usual. But when I was thinking about December and how I wanted it to shape up and what I wanted it to look like in my business, I just kept getting this call to slow down. And I think that this is something that we're all kind of maybe grappling with, is how do we show up fully for all of the obligations that the holiday season bring to us, while also honoring what is here. And what is here generally, as we coming into winter in the Northern Hemisphere, is a desire to slow down. A desire to ground, to get back into the body, to drink warm soups, to take care of ourselves. And so I've decided I want to honor that silence and space in your life by not releasing any more episodes through the end of the year. That will also give me time to curate the most amazing interviews for you all, and an opportunity for me to dive into some other areas of my business that are calling for my attention, which I will share promptly. Maybe not promptly, shortly. But first, I have to give a shout out to all of you who have reviewed Reclaim on iTunes. That stuff matters. It helps the algorithms. It helps people find the podcast. I have amazing reviews that just touches my heart, such as this one. I love Thais' depth of understanding about real issues and the exploration of conversations that really matter right now. From emotional intimacy to white privilege, I always leave with some light bulb in my heart, and I am so grateful. I love that so much. Another one, I've never felt more inspired, excited, and worthy. Thanks, Thais. You are welcome. You're welcome. I'm so glad that Reclaim has been able to touch the lives of so many of you. And for all of you who not only have left a review on iTunes, but have also supported the podcast through Patreon. Thank you. Every dollar counts in supporting the podcast. That money goes straight back to the podcast. It's what allows me to create and edit and find the most amazing people to have this podcast be a thing. So if you are interested in supporting the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Thais Sky, and you can learn more about Patreon and what it looks like to support the podcast, etc. Thank you to all of you, especially those of you who have supported the Patreon in the past couple months, like Kristen and Joanna and Bridget and Leslie and Amanda and Nicole. Thank you to all of you. All right, so I want to share the best 5 moments of the podcast of 2018 with you all. I've been thinking a lot about Reclaim. I've been thinking about what have been some of my favorite moments, and maybe you've had some favorite moments or some ahas as you've been listening to the podcast this past year. If so, I would love for you to share it with me. Share it with me on Instagram. You can find me at I am Thais Sky, and tell me all the things. I love to respond to everybody who messages me or tags me on Instagram. It's my way of connecting and feeling supported and giving support. So yeah, if Reclaim has touched you in some meaningful way this past year, I would love to hear about it on Instagram. So go find me there, okay? So for me, top 5 favorite moments of 2018. Well, this is not in any specific order, but one of my favorite moments was doing the You're Waking Up to Your White Privilege series with my friend Lindsay Ray. We started off with just feeling frustrated at all of the white nonsense that we were seeing online, and decided that we wanted to have a conversation about it and formalize it into a series, because we had been having conversations about it since the beginning of this podcast in 2017. But we decided, actually, let's do a series and let's teach some things that we've been learning in our psych program that we think can be of use when it comes to talking about racial and social justice. And so while we're not anti-racism educators, we have been finding some tools in our psych program that has been tremendously helpful in applying that lens into anti-racism work. And so all, the coolest thing about that was just being able to continue to share stories that have supported you and all of the listeners in owning their whiteness on a deeper level and coming to terms with what it means to be white, what it means to be a person of privilege. What does that look like? How can we use our privilege? How can we navigate guilt and shame? How can we use our privilege to not play into white saviorism and instead use our privilege to dismantle the power systems that are keeping systemic oppression in place? So You're Waking Up to Your White Privilege series has been such a gift. It's been really fun to sit in a closet with Lindsay and to share everything that we're learning with you all. And I've really enjoyed that series, and I hope that you have as well. Here's a little snippet of the shenanigans Lindsay Ray and I get into.
I think it's so funny. Like, I literally am just being very mindful of what's happening in my closet right now. And I think it's funny in reflecting back on all the times we've sat here and recorded podcasts and all the different movements that happen while we record. Right now, you started out a whole person away from me, and you are literally now on top of me. I am, look at me, I am in this corner. I am up against the corner. But there's been times where we'll be moving and shifting because it's a tight space, you know? And I remember once I had my leg on top of yours because I was I don't have anywhere else to put it.
Well, let me just say that anyone who shares a bed with me
knows
that they will get 1/5 of the bed.
What?
And I get, because I'm a snuggler.
Oh,
so I snuggle.
Give me my space.
I'm a snuggler.
It's sleepy time.
I'm a little snuggle bunny.
No, it's sleepy time.
No, but it's snuggly bunny.
No.
Time. Yeah.
No.
So then I
No.
I just keep pushing against.
Oh, that's terrible. What an invasion of space.
And then they will shift, and then I kind of shift with them. And then,
they're at the poor them. They're in unconscious dream state.
Yeah. So pretty soon.
What a violation.
So pretty soon they're at the very, very, very edge of the bed, and I'm all on top of that person.
You are
snuggle bunny.
Never sleeping over.
Snuggle bunny. Well, usually it happens for me with people of the opposite sex.
Who knows? I don't want to take that chance. My unconscious will turn over and whap you.
Knowing my idolization of Lindsay Ray.
Oh my God,
I'm gonna
I'm in a corner. Help! Send help! Send help!
I'm pressing my body against her. She says that she hates it, but she really loves it.
Help!
She loves this.
Help!
Lindsay and I are silly, and we love to sprinkle humor within the very serious conversation of You're Waking Up to Your White Privilege, now what? If you haven't checked out the series yet, you can go to the show notes, or wherever you're listening to this episode, you can find the 5-part series. The other really cool thing that has happened this past year is interviewing, people like Holly Whitaker.
One of the things that is important to understand is that basically all of our spiritual lineages, every spiritual, or every religious organization or every religion that we come into contact with, that we recognize, right, is was built in a patriarchal infrastructure, right, and system. And so it takes into account, by that it just means it takes into account the needs of men before it takes into account the needs of women.
Holly Whitaker's episode on addiction was the most downloaded episode of 2018. And it's really cool because it says a couple things. It says that you all are interested in learning how to navigate addiction and undoing your patterns in a way that feels in alignment with a different way of looking at addiction than the typical model that has been presented to us from AA. There's different ways that we can look at addiction, and Holly brings a really unique perspective to a field that has been predominantly male-based. And I love that she's doing the work in the world, and I love that this podcast, that her interview was one of the most downloaded, because it means that you all are valuing a different way of relating to ourselves whether that is addiction, whether that is something else, that undoes the patriarchal noise that's telling us that we have to do it a certain way. Yeah. The second most downloaded episode was Bethany Webster. She talked about the mother wound. So many of you have reached out to me wanting to have her back on the podcast, and maybe that will happen in 2019. Bethany Webster is a lovely individual. The work that she does is so potent around the mother wound. Her work has inspired me so much around the worthiness wound. And I'm very, very grateful for her in the world and the voice that she has in the world. And if you haven't listened to that episode yet, oh my gosh, I was fangirling the entire time. Bethany is just a tremendous, brilliant, wise woman. And I'm endlessly grateful for her wisdom. Here's a snippet of our conversation.
Most of us take too much responsibility. Because we live in a world as women that tells us that we're responsible for the emotional realm and that we need to, take it on. We need to be the bigger person.
Yes.
And that's a trap. That's a trap. And I think where we're going now and where I've seen the most transformation is, and where we need to go even more, is to actually withdraw that which is not our responsibility and place it back to others. So for example, in the context of our mothers, when we were children, we were not responsible. We were dependents. We were vulnerable, completely vulnerable with our mothers and fathers, particularly our mothers. And our mothers were the ones that were responsible for us as children. Put that aside for a second. Alongside that is the fact that as children, we automatically take up responsibility. So for example, if a mother and a child are having an interaction and there's like a break in the attachment bond, something bad happens and the child feels alone, abandoned, or whatever. As children, we automatically assume it's our fault because it's cognitively, we can't process that our mothers might be unwell or unable to care for us in that moment. So we have to blame ourselves. It's kind of like the only way a child can feel a sense of control over its environment is to think I'm bad.
Yeah.
So one of the problems is that a lot of people are walking around thinking I'm bad, I'm not good enough. And so it can feed into what you're saying, like taking on too much responsibility. And so part of the healing the mother wound is actually taking in the magnitude of how much we suffered and that it wasn't our fault.
Oh, so good. You can hear the rest of that interview by going to the show notes. And then the third most downloaded episode is Rachel Ricketts and talking about anti-racism. Again, that really excites me because that tells me that all of you are interested in dismantling oppressive systems, particularly around the conversations of race, but also so many others.
The majority of people on the planet are people of color.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're white and you aren't doing your work, then you basically, if you're not doing anti-racism, then you're racist. Even if you are doing anti-racism, it's there. So you're robbing yourself of deep and meaningful connections with the majority of people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in for a second. This conversation freaks, right-wing folks out to no end.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really damaging. It's damaging to white people's psyche. It's damaging to their well-being, even though they have all these benefits, because that's the whole point of white supremacy, so that they can benefit and reap the rewards of privilege and power to the exclusion or oppression of people of color. And they do. But on like a soul, emotional, mental level, like it's fucked up. It fucks everybody up. Because you have to then constantly be in a state of like defending and denying other people's humanity. And you can't do that without in some way, shape, or form denying and detaching from your own humanity.
I'm going to continue to highlight in 2019 all the ways that we deny each other our humanity, whether that is through fatphobia, whether that's transphobia, whether that's homophobia, right? We have to look at how we can dismantle all of these systems that are at play, because they all marginalize human beings who deserve to be on the same level playing field, right? Whatever that fucking means. Anyway, I don't even know what that means, but our systems currently do not support all people. That much is clear. And the fact that you all are paying attention to that is truly remarkable. And you all, as an audience, as a community member, I'm continually at awe at how and how much you're paying attention, because that's key here. Paying attention is key. I'm going to continue, even though the podcast is going on hiatus. I'm going to be releasing some mini-sodes over on Patreon, so you can be a Patreon member for as little as $1 a month, and then you can get access to these additional bonus Reclaim episodes. But I've been talking a lot about intimacy, and I'm going to continue to be talking about intimacy throughout December because it's something that I see being very pervasive theme in my life. And intimacy is really about paying attention, right? It's about being willing to lean in when everything in your body is telling you to lean out. When you're feeling so uncomfortable, when you're feeling like you can't handle the possibility of you being wrong, you can't handle the shame, you can't handle the feedback that you're getting, the possibility that you could be hurting somebody, but sitting in it with them, that is intimacy. And that's really the crux of transformation. The more intimate we can be with ourselves, we can be with each other, we can be with our lives, the more real we are about our struggles and our pains and our problems, and the more we can then slowly change it, or at least be with it, at least honor it. I'm all about honoring our limitations. I'm all about bringing back our humanity. And too often we think that we need to be perfect to be loved. We need to make a certain amount of money to be loved, to be accepted. And that's not the case at all. That's not the case at all. In fact, those things are oftentimes a distraction. So coming back to doing the work of the worthiness wound and being intimate with ourselves, it's what allows us to just be better to one another. Okay? And that starts by paying attention. Paying attention. Pay attention to the news about the people who are being killed. I know it's overwhelming sometimes, but don't lean out. Lean into it. Get into it. Let yourself be distressed, and then use that distress to take action in some meaningful way. Okay? Okay. Other really amazing favorite moments of 2018, the fact that I'll be wrapping up this year with 40,000 downloads is pretty remarkable. I know some other podcasts that, have like millions of downloads, and I'll get there someday, but right now I'm really cherishing the 40,000 downloads because holy shit, that means that 40,000 episodes have been listened to. It means that you all are here with me, that you're enjoying this with me. It's not just me talking in a mic into a room. That excites the fuck out of me. I am just so in awe that so many of you tune in every single week to listen to these episodes. So thank you. Thank you to each of you who have helped me get to 40,000. Maybe next year we can hit over 100,000. Hell, let's go for 200,000. I'm going to write that as a goal for my year. 200,000 downloads, because I think Reclaim is capable of it. I think the conversations that I'm having on Reclaim are important and need to be reach a larger, level. I think that the people that I interview on the podcast are people who are doing deep, meaningful work, and their work needs to be highlighted. Yeah? Okay. Other cool, amazing favorite moments of 2018 was interviewing my friends like Omkari and Katie Bresak. There's a fun thing about interviewing friends. There's, you can be really honest with each other. You can drop the facade a little bit. And I don't really have much of a facade, but, it's still like having a friend brings in a fun, different dynamic. Being with Lindsay Ray and being in her closet, it just brings out this exciting opportunity to just have a real conversation. And fuck the bullshit. There's so many of us that pretend like we have to be bigger than who we are in order to be successful. And I think something that I'm constantly at awe at with Alexandria Ocasio is the fact that she went into Congress, right? She was recently elected as a congresswoman for the District of the Bronx. And instead of trying to conform with Congress and try to make herself appear bigger than she is, she was herself. She's herself. And she's sharing Instagram stories and thoughts as if she has nothing to hide. And what I love about that is that she's not changing to the system. She's demanding that the system change for her. And that's what we get to do here in this podcast and everywhere we go. The more real we can be, the more we can drop this need to have ourselves appear a certain way on social media or wherever, the more we actually get to relate to one another and demand that these systems that are keeping us small change. It's time for us to no longer contort ourselves to the fucked up ways that our culture tries to keep us small. Fuck that shit. Fuck it. I also got to interview past yoga teachers and mentors, people that I have so much respect for, people who I've took their classes and their workshops, and I followed them for years, and I got to interview them. I mean, that is just the coolest thing in the whole world. And if you have a podcast, you know that there's nothing more thrilling than interviewing someone that you've respected for so long. And the best part is when the interview goes delightful, right? The best part is when the entire time you're like, yes, I knew I resonated with your work for a reason. You are amazing. And then the final kind of amazing moment that I had in 2018 was releasing my worthiness series. So I released a 5-part worthiness series, and I was a little trepidatious around doing that because, so much of the podcast is about interviewing people and their work in the world. And I wasn't sure how it was going to land to just be me talking and sharing my thoughts. And you all have loved it. You have loved it so much that I'm going to continue to do other series, like I'm doing the intimacy series on Patreon, as an opportunity to continue to use this platform to share my own thoughts on what's going on. Because I want to be highlighting other people's brilliant work and ideas, but I also have some pretty cool things that I want to share with you all. And I've been doing a lot of work on worthiness. I mean, the worthiness wound is my brainchild. It's something that I've been doing research on for over a decade. And so being able to share some of my knowledge with you all through that worthiness series was a really special treat. And you all really resonated with it, which just makes it all the more delightful. It makes it really delightful. So yeah, those are my favorite moments of 2018. Again, if you have any ahas or any episodes that really resonated with you this past year, please share it with me. I would love to hear from you. And I'm excited to be going on this break. I feel a little trepidatious about it. I'm going to miss going, live with you all every week, but this feels good. It's a great opportunity for all of us to slow down. Yeah. And if you haven't caught up on all the episodes, this is also an opportunity to do so, right? So what's coming up? Here's what you can expect from me in the coming months. First off, last December, I released a Worthy Women Rise workbook, and it was a year in review. It was over 50 pages of questions to be asking yourself, to be reviewing your past year. And it got a tremendous amount of buzz and energy. I had so many downloads. So many people were into it. And I've been getting emails from people asking if it's coming back. Well, it's coming back. So stay tuned. In the next couple weeks, you can make sure to subscribe to my newsletter by going to taissky.com/email to get on my newsletter. Those people will be the ones to get it first. And then it will be released out to the public. And it's free. There's no charge, and there's no 10-mile-long opt-in email sequence that you'll be getting once you sign up. It's nothing like that. This is my gift to you, an end of the year bonus, an opportunity for you to spend some time being in reflection, being in contemplation around how your year went for you. This is my favorite thing to do in December, is reflect the past year. And while I know that so many people are getting ready for 2019 and setting your eyes on 2019 and like, what are you going to do and where are you going to travel? I feel like it's appropriate to look forward only after we've taken some time to reflect in the past, or else we're just going to keep repeating the same patterns, right? We need some time to reflect the past, to understand our history before we can look onward. And so this year in review is that opportunity to spend some time reflecting in the past, reflecting this past year, so that you can move into your 2019 courageously, boldly, with clear eyes and a full open heart. Okay, so that's coming for you in the coming weeks. And then I am launching my sixth or seventh cohort of Worthy Women Rise, the group program. I am setting the launch date for beginning of February, so that the cohort will start mid-February and we will go on through to mid-June. It's a 4-month program, and Worthy Women Rise is a program designed to support you and step into your greatest worth. So it's all about how can you undo the patterns, the wounding that's keeping you stuck. How can you cultivate deeper boundaries and clear communication and a sense of confidence within yourself by going into your shadow. This is a shadow work program where we're going to explore what it means to be an embodied sovereign woman, not by adding skills, but really by unlearning skills. And in that unlearning process, we learn some new ways of navigating our lives so we feel really grounded and good about who we are in the world. And so you can learn more at worthywomenrise.com and get on the wait list. I will be announcing when the door opens, sometime in January, for a beautiful card opening in February, so we can get started, and get started in this new year with a tremendous amount of fortitude and love that comes from being in a group experience together. So you can learn more about Worthy Women Rise at worthywomenrise.com. Stay tuned for my year in review workbook. And thank you for listening. Thank you for being with me in this amazing journey of 2018. I look forward to catching up with you all in 2019. Please stay grounded. Use this opportunity this December to slow down, to be intentional about where you're putting your money. Let's not continue to perpetuate the capitalistic narrative that you need to buy things in order to be happy. Instead, see if you can find delight in the small things this holiday season, because that is what is possible here. There's a possibility of using this time to find the light, right? As opposed to digging deeper into our numbing techniques, and numbing out and not feeling what is here. All right. I'm sending you all my love, and I'll see you in 2019.